First off, before I do anything, I just want to quickly kind of apologize. I haven't been exactly on my YouTube game lately, like, at all. And without getting into, the sob story, the details, and stuff like that, I kind of got kicked out of my house. Kinda. Like, I was forced out of my parents' house. It was out of nowhere. Like, really out of nowhere. So in the process of doing my adult duty and, making sure I'm surviving as an adult of society, I unfortunately had to hold off YouTube for a little while, so here I am now. But to be honest with you, I have something in my nose. I think the time that I've been away from YouTube has given me a lot of time to actually think about what I want to do. Now, if you follow me for a while, you know that I'm always talking about changing the channel, and now is no different. But I think the direction that I'm thinking of right now should be something really, really fun to do for both me and you, my subscribers, which I'm surprised there's still a fair amount of you. But enough about that bullshitting and stuff. Let's get to what you really came here for. So what I'm going to be doing, if you haven't read the title already, I'm going to be critiquing my first year of photography. Now, I really haven't been doing photography for that long, if anything, probably a couple of years. But I've definitely improved since then, and you'll see with these photos. I'm actually kind of afraid to look at them. So I'm just going to be critiquing my old photos from my first year. I'm not going to go through every single photo, but every photo that I have an idea on, or I wanted to say a couple words to say words. I haven't done this YouTube thing in a while. It's going to take me a while to get back on track. I'm going to be critiquing my old photos from 2016, I believe. Lego. I had gotten my camera like right before the end of the year, so this is technically the only photos I have from 2015. Let's see. So Andrew and Emmy. Oh Lord. Now I haven't really looked at these photos since I've really taken them, so I kind of forgot how I edited them, and what I'm looking at is it's not pretty, guys. Let's see the first one. All right, so pretty sure this isn't in focus. I don't think so, and they're facing directly towards the sun. So that's why she's squinting. The processing, and first let me tell you, these were all in JPEG. I didn't shoot these RAW. I didn't know what RAW was, so you can see. I don't know if it's just like the web compression, but you can see kind of like this banding right here. It's pretty gross. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then yeah. So right off the bat, I just don't like this photo at all. I don't like anything about it. It's this one, I had the right idea. I just probably should have done a little better with it in terms of like pre-shooting and post-processing. Like, if you follow my photography Instagram, you know I like to shoot black and white photos. But with this one, I would have done it a little differently. Like, at this corner right here, it's kind of blown out. Now, I can probably check the original photo, but I'm pretty sure that's where the sun was. So I probably would have positioned them, like, maybe a little more this direction, so I don't get this whole blown out thing. But, I mean, I had the right idea. I just didn't really understand much of anything at that point, so. And cheers for trying, though, right? Okay, now with this one again, this kind of goes with the whole thing of me not knowing what shooting RAW was. Now this is with my old Nikon. This is like my first camera, and it wasn't a bad camera. As you'll see some of the later photos as I started to learn, they're not that bad. Now with this photo, you can really tell. Now it was still a JPEG, so I don't have a lot of information to begin with, but I try to bring down the highlights because I guess I overexposed it just a tad, or a lot actually, for this. So you can really tell in the whites, they're kind of crushed, not like really white. They're blown out, but not at the same time. That's kind of what happens when you try to bring highlights that are blown out all the way down. It kind of turns into this like mushy gray kind of. It just kind of looks unnatural, and there's no detail in the sky. Now this flare right here is a little distracting. I mean, I think it would have been nice if it was kind of just not in their faces. I mean, the whole photo in general was kind of disgusting. I mean, you can barely see their faces. I don't know what I was doing. My goodness. I'm switching albums because this is gross. So these photos were part of my first ever really photo shoot, if you can call it that. I mean, no, yeah, this is my first photo shoot, even though I'm not proud of it, but let's see these photos. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is my friend Alex. looks completely different now. Kind of looks like Jesus. This is his pre-Jesus days, you can tell, and he cringes every time he looks at these photos. But with this, I was using like this kind of floodlight type deal, try to get some like, you know, epic shadows and stuff like that. Now, I wish I would have done this not towards a wall that had a corner like right here. This shadow here is distracting as well. I wish I would have been able to get at least this eye brighter, either with post-processing or just having it not covered by his hair. The coloring is, you know, it leaves a lot to be desired. His skin looks kind of sickly. I mean, he's kind of pale, but not sickly looking. Now, this is something I'm actually kind of just noticing. I like how right here, how you have like the silhouette of his piercing on this ear, because he doesn't have it on the other ear, but then you kind of have, you know, the opposite on this side. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, definitely not one of my best works. Now, I kind of have a weird relationship with this photo. I like how he's posing. I just don't like the post-processing with this one, because at this point I've kind of built up my own style of black and white, and I think this was still shot in JPEG, so even if I went back to it, I won't be able to edit it as good as I wanted to. Now, what I would have done a little differently is, well, I'm pointing like, if you can see, I gotta use my mouse. I would have tried, even though it's a black shirt, I would have tried to bring out the shadows and get more texture in here instead of being just a kind of Vanta black type deal. You know, you don't really see any definition and stuff like that, you know, no texture. And another thing, I probably, the more I'm looking at it, the more I don't really like how he's positioned. Plus the fact that this line here is really distracting. I don't like that. I mean, I can appreciate these photos because I learned through them, but now I can really look at them and kind of pick out little things that annoy me every time I look at them now. Okay, something I want to say about this photo is that I can see where my black and white processing now kind of came from. You can kind of see it in this photo. You can tell that I kind of tried to bring the hair back from the shadows, not as much because I'm still thinking this was shot in JPEG. But with this really high contrasty, like how I describe it, kind of like an edgy type deal. I edit my photos using Adobe Lightroom, and I can tell that well, at least I think so. I'm not really sure, actually. Especially with my really contrasty black and white photos, I tend to bring up my clarity pretty far. Not to the point where it starts looking weird, but that's something I really tend to do. And I also like the little silhouette of the earring right here again. I'm noticing with a lot of these photos, a lot of it was just really awkward framing. Like this one. So here's my thing with this one. I can really pick apart this one because I know there's a lot of things that stand out to me automatically. The two major obvious things I can see right off the bat are the horizon isn't level. It's not horizontal. It's kind of almost diagonal in a sense. It's kind of extreme, but so we have this almost like Dutch angle type thing that wasn't my intention. And another off-putting thing is his position. He's kind of facing out of frame. Now, I know you don't have to necessarily... You don't necessarily have to always follow the rules, but you need to know how they work for you to break them. And this photo, it was just me being a noob. Also, the fact that his leg is cut off down there, I should have had him positioned either up on the rock or I should have pulled back a little bit. The position is okay, it's just everything else about the photo is kind of just screams amateur to me. Okay, now this one at the time I was like really proud of. I thought it was really cool how I brought out the sky and kind of brought him from the shadow and stuff like that. But his skin tone is a little too pink for my liking. I don't think there's enough contrast if I'm looking at this right. Plus the background scene really is really boring. It's mundane. There's nothing really going on. In fact, since that it's not really out of focus, it's a little distracting. You know, I'm trying to get him in a frame, but what I'm kind of getting from this is that it looks a little like I'm trying too hard and I'm failing miserably. I mean, I'm not really sure. I didn't realize it was going to be this hard to critique myself. I just know I don't like it. Maybe that's just me. I just don't like myself. I'm gonna go with that. Another thing you can kind of tell with when I'm scrolling up like this is that This was before I knew about like presets, so especially with the colored photos, there's a little bit of inconsistency. I mean, you can see from these ones, it's really vibrant and stuff, and maybe more in the cooler temperature. And then over here, kind of like a green cast, especially with the subway ones right here. These ones are a little warmer. This one is pushed to warm a fair bit. Same thing with this one. This one is a lot more cooler. Like I didn't really have a style. I think I was still trying to find my style, I guess. I don't know why that was so difficult. Now with some black and white photos, you have to be careful when you do the contrast really high, because sometimes if you look, especially if you look far out, far out, bro. If you look far out, you can really see this kind of weird, like, black aura coming from her. And I think, from my understanding, what happens is if you push the contrast way too much, and you have two areas that are really dark and really bright, there's this bit of like, I don't really know what to call it. Not really vignetting, but it's just like this black aura that comes from it, and it's really gross. I would have brought down the clarity on this a little more. Yeah, it's clarity, not contrast. Now, if it wasn't for those things in place, I think this photo would have been pretty nice. I probably would have darkened the rocks a little bit more. It's a little bit too white for my liking. Plus, the framing is a little off. Now, if we were to get into my favorite black and white photos, how many times have I said photos in this video? This probably has to be one of my favorite shots I've taken, just because I like the whole dynamic of it. I like all the kids' reactions. Now, I wish I would have gotten her in the frame too, but, you know, I didn't think about it. I wish his head wasn't cut off right here. I wish I had his full body, but... Now, this was taken at night with a 50mm 1.8, and it was pretty dark, so I'm actually surprised I was able to bring up as much as I did. You can really see the grain, especially right in his pants area. I think part of this has to do with me bumping up the clarity. Yeah, especially with this grain on the door as well. If I had edited this, if I had edited this today, willing the lighting situation was a little better, I would have added a lot more contrast to this, because I don't think I really have a true black in this photo, not even in the football area. I don't think that's, like, maybe just right here, but with my tone curve, I probably would have changed it a little bit more, get a lot more dramatic contrast. And if I had shot this a little wider, or, well, I had a 50 prime, so if I had just stepped back a little bit, could have gotten her in the frame, could have gotten the rest of him in the frame, I think this photo would have been really, really awesome. I still think it's pretty good, because I like also how their bodies kind of, in a way, kind of point towards the ball. I mean, him is kind of obvious, you know, his body right here kind of looks like a, well, I don't want to say an arrow, but his body dynamic really kind of leads your eye into the ball. I mean, she has the ball right here, and with him, you know, he's just, I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's not even touching the ground. My boy, what are you doing? I guess I'm kind of biased with this photo just because I really like it, but I do see some of the issues. Now, I have a lot more photos from that year, but you don't want to see every single one. The photos that I talked about in this video were just really ones that kind of went out to me. I feel like I was pretty easy on myself. I know I have a lot of bad photos. I guess I'm like trying to make myself look better than I am. But there are definitely a lot of photos that I just outright did not like, that it wasn't even worth critiquing because everything was just wrong. So now that I laid down the critique hammer for my photos, I want to see if you guys have photos that you want me to critique. Now, I'll go a lot more in-depth with yours than I did with mine, and I'll probably try to give you tips on what I feel like you could do. Now, I'm not a professional by any stretch of imagination, but I feel like it really helps from one photographer to another to get another perspective on your shots and stuff like that. It might help you with your future photos. Fuck is that thing on my... Now, if you haven't seen my photos or anything, I really suggest you take a look at them. Just self-promotion, I guess. I'd really appreciate it if you take a look at my photography Instagram and my actual website. I'll have both of them linked down below. And if you actually manage to check them out, in the comments below, tell me what you think. What you like about my website or Instagram, what you don't. Also, if you're actually wanting to send me photos for me to critique, I have an email down there that you can send them down to, and I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. Hopefully make a video about it. If not, then I guess fuck me, right? Hopefully I'll have other videos in the near future soon. I have some plans. Hopefully they come to fruition. And that is the video. I hope you liked it, and stay tuned for I wouldn't say next week because I don't want you to hold your breath, but just hold your breath as long as you can until I upload another video. That's what you do. That's what you should do.